Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we're back with another Krista and Annie show, and we are going to be diving into what we think it is going to take to be really successful looking forward into 2024. So this is the annual predictions and trends episodes that I do every single year. And for the first time, I have brought Annie on with me because you are going to get to hear from both of us and what we're seeing and what we think it's really going to be taking. I usually have my numbered list of like 6 things or 10 things. I don't know where we're going with this. So we are going to see how many things we are going to come up with here.
Ooh, speed round.
No, the very first thing that I do want to address is 2023 was a wild and weird year for a lot of people. While I do have some clients and some peers who had a fantastic year. I have one who is targeting breaking into 7 figures this year, and she is landing the year at 3.5 million, which is fantastic.
Hey!
She just completely thrived during this weird year that so many other people experienced. So whenever things are hard for some, they're really great for others. That's always going to be true. But I'd say that 80% of people that I worked with this year or peers that I've collaborated with and talked to, they had a really weird year. And it was because so many people's buying patterns shifted. The way people made buying decisions, a lot of people either held off on decisions or really slowed down the pace at which they decided to say yes and commit to something. And we've seen that pretty universally across a lot of different industries, certainly in the coaching, consulting, and service-based industry. Done for you did better than pure coaching and consulting did. But that being said, pretty much everybody had some kind of impact based on buyer behavior changing. And when we look forward to 2024, I think the positive is that a lot of people who are holding off on buying are making buying decisions. I think people are going back into a season and into a period where they are investing in themselves and they are investing in their business. So I think that's a really positive thing. I'm already starting to see a lot of those shifts in the people that I'm working with. They're starting to see business pick back up again. So that's very encouraging. But the one thing that I do want to call out is I don't think we're going to go back to the way that people used to buy anytime soon. I think people are going to be much more discerning, especially if you sell high ticket. So I think this is where, when I look forward to the year, words that you are not going to like hearing me say at all is you need to really be thinking and leveraging patience in what you're doing. You need to be really strategic and really intentional in what you're doing. And you need to recognize that when you're doing a launch event or when you're really trying to sell something, you're actually not going to close as many new to your brand people as you may have in the past. The people who are going to say yes in your next launch cycle are the people who have probably joined your world 3 to 6 months ago or even longer. And so if you're doing paid ads, or if you're doing a lot of things to be attracting new people into your brand and raising your visibility, which I think is critical, and I think that's something that should absolutely be on your agenda and should be a focus area for 2024 when I look at what it will take to be successful, you're going to need those new people coming in. But unlike in years prior, where a lot of those new people would convert rather quickly, I think you're going to see people having to go through multiple cycles before they're ready to say yes. Now, with really great messaging, with a really clear offer that solves a really clear and urgent problem, and if you get some quick starts who come through your funnel, you may see some conversions more quickly. But I think when you look more broadly across the overall, I think you're going to see people taking more cycles to buy. And so this is the time when you want to be looking holistically at your end-to-end funnel. You want to be saying, great, how dialed in is this? How good is my buyer journey, my customer experience throughout all of this? how good is my nurturing for the people who do not say yes and buy now? What am I doing to stay top of mind to get them when the time is right for them, when the problem is urgent enough for them to say yes and want to buy? So I think that's the very first thing that I want to highlight, because I think we need to address the weirdness that 2023 was. But I think we want to understand that just because things are picking back up, 2024 is not magically going to go back to putting paid ads out. We do a launch and we all of a sudden convert all of these cold people instantaneously. I think the market has shifted quite a bit, and where we might have pockets of that, if you rely on that holistically, you're going to be struggling. So what do you think about that, Annie?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think especially what you're talking about with the timeline of things. Some things are long tail. Some leads are long tail, right? So especially what you're talking about with clients or prospects, let's not forever forget that the lowest hanging fruit is re-enrolling a client you already have, right? Like, love the one you're with, right? I always think of that old camp song, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other gold, right? Like, we need leads. Don't get me wrong, but leads are silver. And existing people on your mailing list who are already warmed up to you, or people that have already paid you, those are gold, right? So there's so much tenacity. There's so much staying the course, because anybody that's hung out with us for more than 1 second has heard both of us say entrepreneurship, self-employment, whatever you want to call it, it is an endurance sport. It is a dance marathon. And the crappy reality is that you have already been dancing longer than most of your competitors. But the great reality is you understand the nature of the game, and everybody else thinks that they can just win it quickly. You know the truth. You're already dancing. You just got to keep dancing, because I think what's going to happen is that, as always, the tenacious will endure and survive, and the hobbyist will weaken and fall off the vine and create space for you again. But that's not going to happen if you kind of crumble under the pressure and think, well, where's my easy button? And I've already been in business for 5 years. And we get entitled in our progress. Be deliberate, slow down a bit, energy management, but keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought something up that I think is really important. Every day I get another email in my inbox of somebody whose business is closing. People's businesses are closing left and right. And in some cases, it's people who came into the allure of entrepreneurship, were sold the, myth of easy, and thought they were just going to come in and be a multimillionaire overnight with very little effort. And, and they kind of realized this is actually a lot of work. This is hard work. This is as much of a personal growth journey as it is a business growth journey, right? And some people get into it, and what they thought it was going to be is a little bit different. And so they realize, you know what, maybe that job wasn't so bad. That feels more aligned for me, right? And so great. So people tried, good for them for giving it a shot and recognizing that it wasn't their thing. Other people really did not set themselves up for success, or maybe came in at a time when things felt easy, when you could do a launch and sign multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars of new clients who found out about you 5 minutes ago, right? Those days are different now, and not everybody is built to be able to sustain that. And I don't mean them personally, I mean their business. They don't have the right foundation and ecosystem in place in their business to be able to support things happening the way that they're happening right now. Like, when I look forward to next year, although I am pretty optimistic about some of the things that are happening, to me, I'm like, some of the most important things I need to do, I need some healthy cash reserves. I'm upping the amount that I'm putting in my cash reserves, because we never know what's going to happen. And how can we be prepared so that we do not have to make decisions that don't feel like good long-term decisions, because in the moment we need to do things. I see a lot of people having made those in the moment decisions so many times that they put themselves out of business. And so
Mhm.
how can you really intentionally set yourself up for success? How can you invest in the solid foundation that is not going to crumble no matter what goes on around you, no matter what goes on in the economy, in the world, in your world, right? I mean, all of us have had these weird things. This was a weird year for me personally. It was a bit of a rough year for me personally. I know it was for a lot of people, right? And so if you have to shift your focus on something, do you have the right ecosystem around you to support it? Do you have the right systems? Do you have the right team? Do you have the right reserves? Right? It's those sorts of things that I think we need to be thinking patiently,
Mhm.
strategically, still
Mhm.
taking action to be bringing in immediate cash in the business. This isn't a like delay, like do things today that will bring revenue in your business, but also be doing the things that are setting your business up for the long-term sustainable success. Sustainable being the key word there, not just the quick wins that all of a sudden, if you now have to shift your focus to some family things or something unexpected happens, that quick win stops working. You end up in a really rough place. And that's where I see so many of these businesses closing, which is a little heartbreaking in a lot of ways, right? I'm sure that they went into this with all of the hopes and dreams, and to have to close, I mean, that's just, it really is heartbreaking to see. But at the same time, I think it does create space for those of us who do have that tenacity, for those of us who are fully committed and who really want to see this through. And if you're at one of those points where you're like, I don't know if I can keep going, my expenses are outweighing what I'm bringing in, like my business really got hit hard this year, it is a time to really lean things out. It is a time to really get clear on what are the essentials that I can do until I can build this back up again. If you know in your heart that this is what you're supposed to be doing, right? And if you are thriving right now, how can you continue to build the foundation, the practices, the reserves to make sure that you can continue to thrive, even if things hit one of those weird turbulent times like we've seen kind of on repeat over these past few years. And I want to circle back to something else you said, Annie, which I think is really important, right? We really look at how you make additional profit in your business, how you make revenue in your business. It's a lot easier than it sounds. Now, you getting like the right thing to be working and increasing your conversion rates, like there's, I mean, we could spend days and days and days on that. But if you really think about it, if you want to make more money in your business, you can cut your expenses, you can bring
Mhm.
in new revenue from new clients, or you can sell more to current or past clients. And so often, what people do is they focus exclusively on new things to new clients. They
Yeah.
are purely in the place of lead gen, and that is the slowest, most expensive, and most risky path to results in your business. Do you need that? Absolutely. That is how you keep a thriving business. But if you ignore the other two categories, you are not only leaving a lot of money on the table, but you're leaving a lot of profit on the table because you make the least amount of profit on a brand new customer because you had to invest the time and the money typically in ads or team or yourself to go out and make these connections and do the things that you needed to do to get the person to say yes. But somebody who's already working with you, somebody who previously worked with you, somebody who gets the incredible value that you provide and the incredible transformation you're able to help them achieve, those are the people who are closest to saying yes to something else with you. And to me, when I look at 2024, I think you need a solid retention strategy in your business. When you're looking forward to that new category, I think you want to be leveraging the people who have experienced your work to be bringing in referrals, but not ad hoc. Wouldn't it be great if somebody told people about me referrals, but intentional referrals, a strategic referral process that brings in high quality leads because those people are going to convert much more quickly. They've been pre-sold. The other person already talked about what you do and what you did for them. They're already your case study before you ever open your mouth or say a thing. They come in usually really curious or already ready to work with you. And so if you're not focused on retention, if you're not focused on referrals, if you're not focused on reactivating past clients and bringing them back in, to me, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. And don't overlook or minimize the importance of also looking at your expenses and becoming more operationally efficient. There is significant money in that, in both direct money, but also indirect in the sense that if today you've got, let's say, a full-time team member who works 40 hours and it takes them 40 hours to do a whole bunch of stuff that's either super inefficient or they don't need to be doing, and you instead can shift that 40 hours or a portion of that 40 hours to something that is way higher value, that either gets more things off your plate so you can go and do more in the realm of retention and new business, or if they can start to do things that are bringing in more revenue, increasing your conversions, that is dramatically going to affect your results. So I think a lot of times people are like, yeah, whatever. I mean, what am I going to save? Like a couple $100? I'm not even going to bother looking at my expenses. But to me, this is where eliminating waste comes in, right? There's those 10 areas of waste I talk about a lot. If you've not yet gotten the guide, go to leanoutmethod.com/waste and you could look at what those 10 areas of waste are. But when you can look at eliminating waste in your business and you can become more operationally efficient, that can have a dramatic impact on your financials and on your profitability, both in the direct and indirect sense.
Heck yeah. And it might be a lot easier than you think it is in this one particular instance. Like, there are so few easy buttons. This might be one, a real one. I had a kind of exploratory call with someone that was in one of the audiences at a speech I did. And I had said, hey, listen, if you have any questions, get on my calendar. And of the whole room, she did. And I was like, yay, she's a go-getter. Let's go. And I said, what's up? And she said, I'm charging $35 an hour and I need to get away from hourly. And I said, well, do you need to get away from hourly or do you just need to raise your rate? Like, let's talk about both possibilities. And I said, do you love the clients you're working with? And she said, yes. And I said, realistically, if you raise your rates for 2024 and you went to them from a position of value and confidence and said, my 2024 rate is going up $5 to $10 an hour, do you think you would really have big objections on getting that new rate raise? And she said, no, probably not. And I said, how many of your clients do you think you would lose if you raised your rates? And she said, none. And I said, well, what then is standing between you and having these conversations? And she said, well, I don't know what to say in the email. So she and I took 5 minutes together to write the email announcing her new rates, and she sent it out, and she's no longer $35 an hour, which she has been all year. It's a 5-minute decision. It's a 5-minute choice, right? So you may be stuck on something so small. It's like a Roomba. You just give it a little nudge to the left and it's totally fine. But right now it thinks it's falling off a cliff when it's stuck in a door frame. It's a little itty bitty motion a lot of the time to re-enroll someone or to raise your rate because you've already put in the emotional labor of delivering all that value. Right. And so literally she came to me in a panic, got to get away from hourly, got to change my whole business model. Nah, man, you haven't asked the people that want to pay you if they're willing to pay you more. And just as she predicted, they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great example. It's so often we come up with what we think something needs to be, and we overlook the simple, like 5 to 15 degree shift in what we're already doing that isn't quite so dramatic, right? You hear me talk a lot about evolutionary change over revolutionary change. We are naturally wired for revolutionary change. And so it's like we just sometimes need to make those small adjustments. And sometimes it's so helpful to have somebody who can objectively look at your business, your vision, your goals, and say, why don't you just do this? Have you ever considered this? Have you tried this? Because it can be hard when we're inside it. It feels so monumental and like such a big deal. She was probably terrified of that. And look at the result.
Yeah. She was terrified of it until she looked at it in the face.
I love it.
And that's why sometimes you need an outside observer, because I think she was so scared to look at how many of her clients she would lose. The answer was none. Right. And we all have that monster under our bed that's not really there. Right. We all have the blind spot that we entertain because it feels too grisly. then go find a buddy and talk it through with them. It might not be as bad as you think.
Absolutely. So one of the other things that I think is going to be really important as we look forward to the new year, with the shifts in some of the buying behaviors, with some of the slower decisions, where I think people are making quicker decisions and where I think people are making decisions is when something is so clearly the solution to a very specific problem that they have. Where I see people struggling is when the thing that they're doing is too vague, is too broad, is not very results focused. And so this isn't about niching per se. Like, I know we could probably talk all day long about whether you should or shouldn't and what niching really means and all those things. There's so many different opinions on it. But to me, when I think about it, I think it's about, are you really clear on the problem that you're solving and who you're solving it for? And I think anything that you can do and tighten up in your offers, in your messaging, in your positioning, that makes it really clear who you are the go-to person for in the specific problem that you solve and the result that you are going to help someone get, you are going to have an easier time. The more vague, the more broad, the more I am seeing people struggle. If someone can't describe you as, oh, that is the go-to person for X. You need this person if this is the problem that you have, right? If somebody's in conversation with their peers and all of a sudden they're complaining about the problem and somebody doesn't immediately think of you and tell them to go to your website, you've got a little bit of work to do with your messaging and with your positioning. I think that in the current climate and the way that people are buying, I think that that is one of the smartest investments that you can make when you are trying to bring in new people. Annie, I know this is one of your superpowers. So,
I mean, you're completely right. We could do an entire podcast on niching versus niching versus what it is, where it is. But I think one of the trends that we're seeing, I don't even think it's actually a trend, but we are seeing it more and more. And I think it's becoming part of the conversation and therefore a trend, is the idea of becoming a specialist and refining. Refine. I was on a group call just last night with my dear friend and long-term client, Caitlin Diana of Magic Beyond Boundaries. And she was explaining to her group that I was also co-teaching that the entire time I've known her, she and I started working together in 2016, she's been refining one program. One. And she is the most successful person I've ever seen launch soup to nuts. She grew very quickly. From the outside eye, she has a humongous team. And as a healer, that's really pretty unheard of in the industry. She's gotten around all the stuff. And she said, look, people ask me all the time, how did you do it? How did you do it? She has experimented, refined, narrowed, reduced, specialized, refined, polished, cut, rebranded, refined, the same thing over and over and over, because we're seeing more and more in our providers. Yes, it's still lovely to have a one size fits all Walmart. Isn't it so great that I can get my tires rotated where I buy my groceries? But at the end of the day, we want our real problem solved, and we want our real problem solved by people that we believe have smashed that to smither frickin' reams. And they can't do that when we're playing whack-a-mole solving all these different problems, right? So I thought it was so brilliant of Caitlin to really enforce on them, look, y'all, I did not get here overnight. I did not get here through wild experimentation. I got here through deliberate experimentation, polishing and perfecting of one thing. One.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we see that in the book of the year, 10X is easier than 2X. Everyone's talking about how everybody competes for the middle, right? Don't compete for the middle. Go for the top. Caitlin wants to have the best program on the market and has spent nearly a decade creating, refining, and fixing the best solution on the market, which is why she's a millionaire, right? Don't shoot for the middle, absolutely. But rather than try to invent 97,000 little things, if something's already working, Let's double down. There's your niche, baby. Your niche is wherever what's working sits.
I agree. And every single year since I've been doing this, one of my themes is lean out and less but better. And that is absolutely what that's all about. But the thing that you said there that I love so much is, to me, it's not about, yeah, I offer this and I offer this and I offer this and I offer this, right? We love new. We love to create. As entrepreneurs, it's kind of our superpower, right? We are great ideators. We are great creators. We don't always see things through. We're not super enamored with the optimization. I mean, unless you're me, we're not super enamored with the optimization and the refining and the making things better but you really do want to be the best in the world at what you do. You are the only, I don't care how many other people do the same category of thing that you do. You are the only person in the world who brings your unique blend of experiences, ideas, insights, all of those different things. Like, I am not the only person who can help you scale a business, but there is nobody else who is going to help you scale a business like I do. Like, nobody.
Skippy.
Right?
100%.
You either resonate with my style, you're about doing it in a simple, sustainable way, or you're not. And that's cool. You find the person who is. But instead of me being like, oh, yeah, I help you simplify and sustainably scale your business, and I help you do this and 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 help you do this, right? It minimizes it, waters it down. Instead, how can I be the only person that people even think of when they want to scale a business simply and sustainably? Like, that to me is the goal. That is where you have the longevity and the staying power, and where you're still the go-to person because you're recognized for that thing, and you just continue to get better and better and better at it. And it's not just at your craft, because you're probably already an incredible rock star at your craft, but it's your delivery of that craft that gets other people results in transformation. And that is the key, because you are you. There are things that you did when you implied it in your own business that you aren't even thinking about or communicating to other people, because you just do it so inherently. To me, the real mastery comes in not so much in the craft, because you're probably already a master at your craft. And if you're not, then continue to improve the mastery. But it's in taking that knowledge and being able to communicate it and support other people in getting the result in a way that is hard to almost put into words, but you figure it out by doing it over and over and over again, by hearing the questions people ask over and over again, by changing your process and your delivery and fine-tuning and fine-tuning and fine-tuning until you have such incredible confidence when somebody joins your program or hires you to work with you, or, hires your team for their services, that they are going to absolutely get the result that they came to you for.
Yes. Ooh, I don't know if this is a trend or a prediction, but it's a hope. Let's make 2024 the year of mastery.
Seriously, really, 100%. So this is going to be a completely different topic for another day. I can take us down a very long tangent on this one, so I'll keep it brief. But a lot of the work that I do with large scale organizations, right? I've worked with large scale organizations for 23 years now. I do really large scale lean and agile transformations when I'm within these large companies. And one of the concepts that I introduce teams to a lot is Shuhari. And when I think about entrepreneurs live in the land of Re, and they sometimes skip Shu and Ha. And in doing so, they never end up with mastery. So Shuhari is, first, you need to learn the thing. You need to just do the thing. It is like, what are the steps? Oh, I need to do this, and I need to do this in this exact order. Sometimes you don't even fully understand the why behind what you're doing, but you kind of, like, ideally you do, but you're just kind of get it. You're going through the motions. You're like, okay, these are the things I need, and these are the things I need to do. So you're in a state of doing, right? You're kind of new, you're learning, you're doing. When you move into Ha, all of a sudden you're being it, you're embodying it. It's becoming second nature. It's just kind of becoming what you do. And you're starting to adapt it a little bit more to your needs. You're starting to understand the why behind it. Oh, I don't just have to do strategic planning because Krista told me it's important. I get that if I want to achieve my vision, this is the way I'm going to get there. I get that this helps me actually get there in a much more efficient way because we're focused on what matters and we're thinking through what we need to do and we're getting ready for the things that might happen, right? And so it's like those sorts of things. You're starting to understand why and apply critical thinking to what you're doing. And then is where you all of a sudden start to kind of break the process. You start to reimagine the process a little bit. You know it inside now. You know all the steps. You got why you're supposed to do it. You understand the principles behind the practices. And because you understand it, all of a sudden you can be like, I get why she does that over there, but in my context, in my business, for my vision, for my clients, I want to do it like this. I don't want to do that. And so then you start to make it your own. And that's where you get the best possible results. But you can't get there by jumping to Re. You have to pass through Shuha first to get there. Again, I'll go into this much deeper into another episode, but I think that that's the key. You have to be the master before you can start to help other people be and understand and adopt a mastery of what you're trying to teach and what you're trying to help them do, because knowledge is one thing, but understanding why something is working or why something is happening or why something isn't working. Why is that person not getting results? They're following everything I told them to follow. It's like when you can start to understand all of that and you master it from all of the angles, that's when you can start to have absolutely amazing results. And you can move into that place of which is just going to help your clients even more.
Heck yeah. Any computer hacker will tell you got to learn the system before you break it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we just like to break stuff. It's like, what is that rule? I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this instead. Right.
Right. And that's lovely. And that's fantastic. Right. But it's not mastery.
Nope. So the last thing, I feel like we can't round out this predictions and trends without talking about AI. There are so many things we could talk about, but I feel like we do need to talk a little bit about AI. And so if you are not yet using AI in your business, this is the time. This is the time to figure out where it is going to work for you. However, where I see AI being so incredibly powerful is a little bit different in some of the ways that I see people using it. I see some people just almost using AI as a distractor. They're spending all day long in ChatGPT plugging in all of these different things. And it's like, look at all this content that they've given me and look at all this. And
Lord.
Don't get me wrong, it is great for ideas. If you're stuck on something and you're like, what are 10 blog post ideas for? Right. And it can get the wheels turning, but it can easily be a time suck and a distractor. It really can. But where I am seeing AI being so incredibly valuable is I am looking at it in the sense of how can I improve my client experience? How can I minimize the amount of time that me and my team need to spend on something? And how can I help my clients get results even quicker without having to wait? And so I'm doing some really cool stuff next year. I am doing a clone Krista. So this is where when you are in the Simplify to Scale program, you can ask me questions all day long and I will answer you, but it is not me. It is my AI clone that is answering you. And it is answering you pulling from my content and telling you exactly what I would say and telling you where in my content you can go to learn more. Right. And so that to me is taking less of my time. It is taking less of my team's time to provide support. And from a client experience perspective, instead of being like, I need to know the answer to which module is that in, what video is it in, and trying to think and trying to search and emailing my team to be like, where can I find the template that Krista told me to use about this? You literally can just go and ask and it will answer you instantly. Right. And so to me, it's that sort of way that AI is magical and is completely transforming things. That is going to give me back a ton of time, my team back a ton of time, but it also is going to make our program that much more valuable because it gives users, it gives my clients instant access to the information and the answers they need without the buffer of wait. No matter how responsive my team is, you still have to wait. You have to take the time to send an email and wait for somebody to get back to you or wait for a phone call. Now they get that instantly. And so it's that sort of thing that I am thinking of when I am thinking of AI is there is like the sky is the limit considering how many things that we have seen and how many tools and apps and functionality we've seen implemented so quickly this year. I think things are going to move at even more hyper pace next year. So if you can dream it, it's probably going to happen in 2024. But the risk of that is you can distract yourself and spend all day long playing with really cool stuff that actually does not help you move the needle forward. Or you can get really strategic and think about how can I leverage this in a way to improve my client experience, to make my business stand out and that much more valuable and the one to say yes to, and to minimize the amount of time that me and my team need to spend on something so we could take that time and put it on other high value, high profit activities. So what's your thoughts on AI, Annie?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I absolutely, I mean, and as a writer and as a marketer, I've been told by myriad people that both are going to drive me out of employment. And you and I have mutual clients where one of my jobs is to edit stuff from ChatGPT. Right. Like, and people would say, well, don't you feel so insulted as a writer to do that? Heck no, you still got to put a good concept in it. AI is only as good in its output as the input. Right? You're not going to spin gold from Cheerios. You're just not. And I love Cheerios, nothing against them. But it's just not, the input matters. But if you can get clever, if you can get smart, you're using it as a way to delight your clients by cloning Krista. I'm cloning Annie for Annie. I am babysitting myself. I am forming a project manager of AI to babysit me because I want to be managed by me, but don't have time to manage me. So I'm building a manager. That's exactly what I'm doing. Or if I'm sitting down and I said, hey, listen, read this listicle that I wrote and tell me what I'm not thinking of. Or, is this something it's so good for blind spots or analysis. But what I'm seeing most people use it for is social frickin' media, which newsflash is kind of dying anyway. And AI is helping that along because now a lot of the AI tools are, here's a LinkedIn blog post and here's 75 tweets and here's this and here's that and here's your Instagram and just da 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 and it's Texas talk and it's blah blah and it's AI and it's whatever. And what that's doing is using AI to generate noise. And noise is putting a stress on social media, which is already kind of a dying trend. And what's happening is we're all jumping on a broken porch, right? It's kind of eroding it faster than it means to. So what I would say is, how are you using AI to make your systems stronger, your processes better, to work smarter, to connect, to become connective tissue in your business between departments, to work with your team more efficiently, to choose your team more smartly, right? To free up their time and yours into the more essential. That's what I want to see people using AI for. I could care less about, auto tweet generation. Meh.
Yep.
Twitter's dead. She dead. Elon killed her. Let's move on with our lives.
It is interesting too, because I do see some people going 100% the AI route and they kind of have stopped putting all writing in. I actually write all of my newsletters myself. I do not use AI for my newsletters. I actually write all of my social media captions myself. And I do this really intentionally because I have a lot to say. And a lot of what I'm saying is stuff that is my unique perspective. AI isn't going to be able to spit out how Krista's going to tell you to scale your business, right? They're going to be able to give you the academic things that you need to do, and that's cool. But I have 30 plus years of entrepreneurial experience that I'm weaving into every single piece of advice and every single strategy that I am putting out there. And AI is never going to know that. It's going to know here's 10 things that you should be considering when you're about to scale your business, right? And that's cool and all. If you're not thinking of those things, maybe it opened your eyes to something that you weren't thinking of before. But the actual applicability, the nuance, the how is this going to be super helpful for you to get results? That is my thought leadership. There is a place where that is your thought leadership, right? And I think that the risk we run when we rely 100% on AI for it is we strip out the thought leadership and the uniqueness to us in the perspective that we individually are bringing to the table that makes people want to hire us for us and for how we can help them and for our perspective as opposed to just our knowledge. And I think that that's the key. So I think there's a huge role for it. I mean, I couldn't be any more thrilled that it's here. I know people have mixed feelings on it. I am all for it. But I do think we want to be smart and strategic, like all things, in the way that we're leveraging it.
Oh yeah, I fully embrace our robot overlords, and I write all my own copy too, but that does not mean I'm not using stuff to help me brainstorm, to help me outline, to help me curate, especially my podcast show notes. Like I have like 7 different tools I bounce around with because I love them all. Because the thing I hate writing more than anything is my dang podcast show notes. But I still am going to go in and do the deep clean myself. I'm still not putting it out until I put my voice on it. But if I can find something, which I have, that will show me from somebody else's vantage point what the sexiest parts of the episode is, amazing. If I don't have to pull quotes out of it with time marks, amazing. If I don't have to transcribe it myself, amazing. But I'm not just going to copy paste because that's just adding noise.
Yeah, I agree fully. And you know my obsession with certain podcast tools that I use in AI. I mean, like some of these tools have saved me and my team so much time. It's incredible.
Ridiculous amounts of time.
Yep. And that is time that I get to spend towards really meaningful things. And I think that that is where the beauty of AI comes in. All right. So there are so many more things that we can talk about. Annie, are there any other that are really top of mind for you that you think are just make or break, critical to keep in mind as we go into 2024?
Gimmicks. A lot of people are getting very fed up with gimmicks. This one has been coming on for a while, but right now, as a marketer, distrust and dislike of marketing in public spaces is at an all-time high. According to me, but the getchas and the tripwires and the traveling price points and the selling one thing to sell another and the fast action bonuses and stuff like that have worked in the past, people are very, very over right now. And it is causing marketers, the smart kind, to get out there and get scrappy and find new exciting things to do. But a lot of other people are just going, well, no one's buying. Well, no one's buying because they don't believe you, right? So trust and transparency. We've heard a lot about authenticity in recent years, and I think that that's going to continue. But I think underneath authenticity, what people are really looking for is transparency, and that's only going to increase over time as people kind of wake up to the way that the sausage is made. So I think we're going to hear less about authenticity and more about transparency this year. And to that, I say, heck yes.
Yeah, I agree. I never loved a lot of those strategies anyway. Talk about something that is not simple. And that as a buyer, for me personally, I'm a quick start. I am that weird person that will find out about you and 5 seconds later make a 25K investment. Like I'm that kind of person that everybody tries to target, right? And because I am that person, I, for the longest time, thought that everybody was like me until I woke up and realized, no, they are not. But that being said, for me, that whole entire thing always turned me off so bad that people who have used that technique have lost me as a customer 100 times over, because I have always disliked that. And it kind of makes me really happy that people are finally waking up and realizing how frustrating and BS it is. No, you don't really have 24 hours to make that buying decision. It is total fake BS urgency. Like, can we just be authentic in our marketing and say what it actually is? But anyway.
What? You mean the webinar I clicked on isn't randomly happening to be starting in 15 seconds?
I know.
I didn't discover it at just the right time. Oh my goodness, right? But no, I welcome it. I welcome the honesty. I welcome the ingenuity. I welcome the scrappiness. and the cream is going to rise to the top here.
It is. And the one thing I do want to say about that is if you're like, yeah, but that's what I was told to do. And this is what I've always done. And now it's not working. So now what? I can't just have somebody go from literally finding out about me 5 minutes ago to joining my 50K mastermind, right? Like one of the things that I am seeing working and something that I do think is important is where can you have a lower entry point into your world so people can really experience your work. And this is not taking something of massive value and putting a huge discount on it. This is nothing. This is really intentionally understanding your buyer journey, understanding their pain points, identifying a quick win that is going to get them either towards a result that they want or remove an objection that they have, and giving them something that is easier for them to invest in. I'm seeing things under $1,000 working really well, but I know people have different opinions on the price point that you should do it. So if you look at your bigger program, let's say in the example I gave, you have a 50K mastermind, right? If that is your core offer and the thing that you used to be able to get people into, and you're recognizing you're not getting as many people in, how can you do a 1K offer that is something really critical that maybe you teach in that, or that helps people be ready to get the best success and recognize the incredible value and transformation they're going to achieve if they join your specific mastermind, right? And so it's looking really strategically at what is that first point of entry I can do for a customer to make a smaller buying decision, to then get them into experience my work, deepen the know, like, and trust, and naturally leads to the core thing that I want to sell. That I'm seeing working and working really well. And if you don't already have something like that in your business, that's great. The like $47 5-day challenge that converts to a 50K offer, I'm not seeing work in the same way that it did in the past.
No, because people are like, my lead magnet is just going to be something I get out of AI. Stop it. Stop it. That is your first impression of value. If it starts with, I hope this email finds you well, I'm out. Oh, wow. I'm so out that I just knocked my headphones off. Wow.
Really out.
I really flailed. Like that was an honest flail y'all just heard there, right? But it's how you lure people in ethically and filled with value matters from the very beginning, right? And so we can't just jump by be like, okay, yeah, here's a $12 product that's going to sell into a $50,000 mastermind. We need that staircase. We need things to grow in a responsible, reliable way. Because like we were talking about, people's buying habits are changing, but they still need to buy. At the end of the day, most of us are not novelty buys. We're not gum at a checkout aisle, and we're not priced like gum in a checkout aisle, right? So because we're not novelty buys, we still need to be very deliberate about how we're earning trust and showcasing value and differentiation. And as audiences become more and more savvy, we need to become more and more bold in showcasing our ethics, our policies, our honesty, our dedication to doing things in a way that feels resonant and juicy and of us.
Agreed. And I know, like, we all know the importance of know, like, and trust, right? We hear this all the time. But when I look at 2024, where I think that know, like, and trust is going to be key, I'd put a V on the end of that. And I think it's know, like, trust, and value. People have to clearly be able to see the value that you provide, and they need to be able to quickly experience that value in order to want to make a long-term buying decision.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So we're going to wrap up this episode here with these predictions and trends and what we're seeing for success for 2024. As always, if you would like any support, you can always work with Annie and I. You can go to scalingstrategycall.com and pick either one of us to set up some time to chat with and see how we can help you to simplify and scale your business and really prepare for an incredibly successful start to the year. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you have not yet taken our scalability assessment, I invite you to head to leanoutmethod.com/assessment and take our interactive assessment that's going to help you look at how simple, how sustainable, and how scalable your business currently is. It includes personalized recommendations of where to focus next to get your time back, to increase your impact, increase your profits, and ultimately step into your rich, fulfilled life. And finally, we'd love to see you inside our signature program, Simplify to Scale. You can head to leanoutmethod.com/ops to find all of the details on how we can help you uplevel your operations and get out of the day-to-day of your business.